I've always rolled my eyes at anything remotely paranormal. Ghost stories, urban legends, curses whispered under a harvest moon. Just elaborate ways to entertain bored people, I used to think. I'd been the guy cracking jokes during horror movies, smirking when someone claimed they'd felt something in the dark. Fear to me was a trick of the mind. That's why, when Halloween rolled around, I expected nothing more than a night of cheap drinks, bad costumes, and predictable jump scares on TV. I couldn't have been more wrong. Looking back now, I wish I'd stayed home that night. The party was at some guy's house, Derek. I didn't know him personally, just through mutual friends. It was one of those oversized suburban homes that had probably looked cozy once, but years of Halloween decorations and neglect gave it a strange, hollow feeling. A porch wrapped around the front, like a set piece from a horror movie. Strings of cheap orange lights buzzed faintly, flickering like they were struggling to stay alive. Pumpkins with jagged grins sat on the steps, their candles casting shaky shadows over the wooden planks. A fog machine spewed thin white mist across the lawn, making the decorations look almost too real. The closer I got, the louder the music grew. Heavy bass thumping through the porch like a heartbeat. The air smelled like pumpkin beer, cigarettes, and something sour I couldn't quite place. A couple in matching Grim Reaper costumes stumbled past me, laughing like they were the only ones there. Inside, it was chaos. Bodies pressed shoulder to shoulder, the room a blur of fake blood, glitter, and half-melted makeup. People screamed along to a terrible Halloween playlist, drinks sloshing in red cups. Someone had even set up a strobe light that made everything flash and jerky, broken movements. I hadn't bothered with an elaborate costume, just a leather jacket, fake blood smeared across my cheek, and cheap plastic fangs I'd bought on the way. I didn't even want to go, but Sam, my best friend, had begged me to. "You can't spend another Halloween alone watching movies you pretend don't scare you," she'd said, so I went. And that decision, it changed everything. So I did. I drank, I danced, I shouted over the music, and as the night grew later, the party grew louder. Someone knocked over a bowl of punch. A guy in a skeleton mask started juggling glow sticks in the middle of the living room. Upstairs, a group of girls screamed not from fear, but from some drinking game gone wrong. It was chaos, the good kind. Warm, dizzying, and a little unreal. I glanced at my phone at some point. 1:43 a.m. I should have called a cab then, but the night air outside the window looked crisp and still, and Miller's Field was only a 15-minute walk to my place, a shortcut. I'd walked through it countless times in the daytime. It was nothing more than a cornfield on the edge of town. The idea of taking the long way around through the main streets felt like a waste of time. Besides, I'd laughed at all those cursed scarecrow stories 1,000 times. I wasn't about to let a children's tale make me take the long route home. As people started to stumble out of the house, I waved goodbye to Sam. I gave him a thumbs up and stepped out into the night. The air was sharp, the kind that bit at your skin. Fallen leaves crunched under my boots. The streets were quiet now, just distant music fading behind me. Halloween decorations dangled from porches like silent witnesses. I zipped up my jacket and shoved my hands into my pockets, humming the last song that had been playing inside the house. When I reached the edge of Miller's Field, I hesitated. The entrance was nothing more than a narrow dirt path between tall, dry corn stalks. In the moonlight, the field looked endless, a sea of brittle yellow and black shadows. A wooden sign leaned crookedly at the entrance, the paint faded almost to nothing. Someone had spray painted across it in red. "Turn back." Typical small-town prank. I chuckled, shaking my head. Real original. But as I stepped onto the path, the sound around me shifted. The distant hum of the neighborhood faded. The crickets fell silent. Even the breeze seemed to die. All that was left was the brittle whisper of the stalks swaying in the wind. Locals loved to tell stories about this place. They said a farmer once made a deal with something dark, something that lived in the soil. When the harvest failed, the farmer built a scarecrow unlike any other. And on Halloween night, it walked the field, looking for someone to replace the soul it guarded. Each year, someone would vanish, teenagers on dares, drunks taking shortcuts. I had rolled my eyes every time I'd heard it. The field lay in silence, the cornstalks dry and brittle, rustling faintly as I stepped between the rows. Shadows stretched long and sharp under the pale moonlight, and the wind seemed to murmur warnings that I didn't understand. My footsteps stirred a fragile echo through the stalks, brushing against my arms as if the plants themselves were trying to hold me back. I laughed nervously, telling myself it was just the wind, just my imagination. And then I saw it. At first, it looked like nothing more than a scarecrow, slouched on its post at the center of the field. Its head was a burlap sack, stitched with a crooked, unnatural grin, old clothes stuffed with straw. But the moment I truly looked at it, something felt wrong. Its shoulders were too broad, its limbs too long, the head tilted at a strange, impossible angle, like it was observing me with intent. I tried to keep moving, telling myself not to stop, not to look back. But when I tore my eyes away and glanced ahead, it had moved. Closer. It never made a sound. No creak of wood, no snap of straw, just a presence. The rustle of the corn stalks seemed to follow it, whispering as though alive. Closer still. 10 feet away. 5. My legs froze, my chest burning with panic. My mind screamed to run, yet my body felt leaden, weighed down by some unseen force. Then, instinct finally overtook paralysis. I bolted, tearing through the stalks blindly, my breath ragged and my heart hammering as the field seemed to stretch endlessly around me. When I finally stumbled into the light of the street lamps, gasping for air, I dared to look back. The scarecrow was gone. Relief washed over me. Perhaps it had all been imagination, a trick of the dark, my own panic manifesting into a shape in the field. I reached home and slammed the door behind me, laughing at myself for being such a fool. I leaned against the wall, trying to steady my shaking hands and calm my racing heart. Then I heard it, a soft, deliberate tap against the window pane. My laughter died instantly. I forced myself to look. There it was, the scarecrow. Its burlap face stretched into that grotesque grin, wider than before. Its straw fingers scraped along the glass, leaving ghostly streaks. My stomach turned, my mind scrambling to make sense of what I was seeing. Then, the blood ran cold. My reflection was gone. The thing staring back at me through the glass wasn't outside at all. It was inside. I stumbled backward, my pulse pounding so hard it drowned out every other sound. My fingers clawed for the doorknob, but the air itself seemed to turn solid, thick, damp, and reeking of rot. It smelled like something dug up from a field, long after it should have been forgotten. The corners of the room darkened, shadows crawling upward like they were alive. And then I saw it. The scarecrow moved. Or maybe it had always been moving, waiting for me to notice. It stepped down from the windowsill with a weight that made the floorboards creak like bones under strain. It didn't make a sound, but its presence was louder than any scream. Something inside me knew this wasn't a costume or a trick. It was real. I felt it press into my mind, an invisible hand rifling through my thoughts, peeling back every defense. It knew me, knew my fear. Its stitched grin tugged wider, mocking, hungry. I wanted to run, to scream, to do anything, but my body was frozen. Then it started toward me. Slow, purposeful. Each step warped the light around it, twisting the room into something unfamiliar. The temperature dropped so sharply it burned my lungs when I breathed. My back hit a chair and I fell, scrambling across the floor as its shadow spilled forward like a flood. In the faint, flickering light, I saw it clearly for the first time. Its limbs were too long, bending at impossible angles. Its burlap face shifted subtly with something alive beneath the fabric. 2 black eyes blinked wet, reflective, and utterly wrong. Adrenaline finally broke through the paralysis. I ripped the door open and bolted into the night, heart slamming against my ribs. Behind me, the scarecrow didn't run, it followed. Silent, unrelenting. When I reached my apartment, I slammed the door, gasping, shaking. For a moment, I let myself believe I was safe. Then I looked up. It was there, standing by the window. Its grin stretched ear to ear. Straw fingers dragged slowly down the glass. Those black eyes locked on mine, cold and patient. I'd escaped the house, but not the scarecrow. Halloween would never be just a holiday again.